All right, let us now talk about the narrow and the broader meaning of education. Now, generally, when we ask what is education, or the layman's meaning of education is being comprised of only the narrow meaning. People think that education is only equated with the schooling. So, in the narrow sense, education is exactly equated with schooling. In this sense, it is said to begin when a child enters the school and it ends when the child leaves the education institution which they join for the purpose of receiving education. So in the narrow sense, education it is being understood as giving priority to classroom teaching and the book learning only. But when we talk of the broader or the wider meaning of education, it covers whole of life. In fact, it is a lifelong process and a lifelong experiences whatever comes in us. This means every experience in life, every activity from the cradle, from the very infant to the grave till we die is education. Everything is educative. According to Loach, he has said that in the wider sense, all experiences is used to be education. When we say experiences, it means of every aspects of experiences, be it of testing for the first time watermelon, a bite of the mosquito. It has been explained by Lodge. Being in the plane for the first time, sitting in a boat, being broke, painful, happiness, joy, whatever experience that comes into our mind, whatever we do for the first time, all those things we counted as experiences, and those experiences of every aspects of life, we call it as education. That means we get to learn from the experiences, and that experiences, it helps us to gather the knowledge, and those experiences, as we have get to know because of being on it, dealing with it, and that is education. So, in our wider sense, education is not mere schooling, it is not merely about acquisition of the knowledge, not merely about book learning. It is whole of life, everything of life. It covers the whole of your life, a lifelong process. It begins from the mother's womb and it lasts till our last breath. So, it is a lifelong process. According to John Adams, he has said that it is of two poles, education as a bipolar process. In one pole, there will be an expert person, an experience that is being termed as teacher. In the other pole, we have the student or a learner, pupil or an educand. Now, in the bipolar process, the teacher and the student, the expert and the inexperienced, they influence each other. The most influence comes from the experienced person. The teacher tries to make the students learn, to help them develop the knowledge, attitude, skill, and the desirable habits, whatever is being required in the society today. And on the other pole, the student, they get to learn everything from the teacher. But there is a vice versa of influencing the habits or development or experiences, that in the two poles, when we say that education is a bipolar process, in one pole there is a teacher, in the other pole there is a student, where they influence each other behavior. On the other hand, John Dewey, he have added another pole to the bipolar process. He have said that education is a bipolar process. The experience, the teacher and the student, that doesn't complete the process of the education. He have added social environment or the society to the third pole. As we live in the society, and whatever influence or whatever education, whatever information we are going to give to the other, we have to know whether it will fit to that very society or not, as everything is being impacted, influenced by the society we live in, and we have to modify ourselves according to the society. So John Dewey, he have said, or he have added social environment or the society to the third pole, saying that education with two polar, it may be incompleted without the social environment. So we have John Adams supporting education as a bipolar process and John Dewey supporting education as a tripolar process. Now, when we talk of types of the education, there are three types of education: formal education, informal education, and non-formal education. When we talk of formal education, it is pre-planned, it is predetermined, time-bound, age-bound. It follows systematic curriculum. It is well defined, imparted by qualified teachers, or observes strict discipline. That means any kind of education that is being given in the formal institutions like school, colleges, or universities, such kind of education we call as the formal education. We have another one, that is informal education. Informal education is incidental. It is not pre-planned. It is also not confined to any institution. It is not time bound, no prescribed syllabus, and there is no timetable and no age bound. Informal education or incidental education is one which automatically in the process of living, and which one receives by living with others. So informal education, unlike formal education, it is outside the classroom. There is no classroom, there is no special teacher for that, experienced teacher for that. And because of that, since it is incidental and there is no syllabi for that, informal education is a lifelong process and doesn't have any beginning and end. So informal education, it may be sometimes negative also. Then we have the non-formal education. Non-formal education, it is any organized systematic educational activity carried outside the framework of the formal education. It is offered at a convenient place, time, and level of understanding. It is open-ended, non-competitive. It is also structured and planned, but outside the sphere of the formal education. It is also conscious and deliberate. It is a program to serve the need of a disadvantaged group of people. It possesses flexibility in design of the curriculum and process of the evaluation. So we have the formal, informal, and the non-formal types of education.